We're good. Okay. Okay, this is the regular Woodbridge Board of Finance monthly meeting for Thursday, February 20th. And the first item on our agenda is public comments. Are there any public comments? No? I think I know who that is.
I believe I have a public comment. Betsy, do you want to come up here? I'd like to introduce Betsy Yagla, who is our Assistant Administrative Officer.
Hello.
Betsy started on Tuesday. I think everyone knows, and if not, I'll say it again, that our Finance Director, Tony Genovese, is now also our Administrative Officer. And Tony has quite a wide array of responsibilities, which he ably handles in all domains. And now Betsy will be joining us to help Tony and to help me and Jerry. She's off to a great start. We did tell her that we wouldn't give her the full to-do list right away because we thought she'd never come back the second day. But in fact, we've pretty much done it, and Betsy is doing a great job already. Good. So we wanted you to meet her, and anytime anybody has a chance, stop by and say hello.
Absolutely.
You live nearby, or?
I live in Hamden.
Okay.
So I'm
from
pretty
Hamden.
close by. Okay.
Good town.
Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted
Budget's
to
a
say-
mess, but it's a good town.
I'm sure it is. I haven't delved into it, but I'm worried about that. But I just wanted to say hi to everybody and just reiterate what Ellen said. Please come say hi or give me a call or shoot me an email or whatever is convenient for you if you have questions. for me.
Welcome aboard,
Yeah,
and
welcome.
good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
care.
Betsy.
Thank you.
Okay. Director of Administration and Finance Report, Tony, the monthly.
So the monthly report for this month is just about an even budget. A slight surplus of about $8,000, which is pretty much in general terms means it's roughly even. There's a few things I want to go over with you that are pretty important. The first is intergovernmental revenues are, as we discussed earlier, have a projected surplus of $136,000, mostly due to a town road aid budget of $240,000, of which we budgeted $120,000. So essentially that means that we had $120,000 surplus in town road aid. There are indications that in fact the governor has recommended that we do the same, we get into that a little later, but that the same budget is for next year. So that's a plus for us. In department revenue, the department revenues are projected at a shortfall of $637,000, mainly due to golf revenues, which is a $788,000 shortfall of their budget of $1.4 million. As you know, through December 31st, we were responsible for collecting revenues and paying expenditures for the course, but that's no longer the case. So that's a good number for our year end. There is a slight surplus in a bunch of other accounts, conveyance fees, town clerk fees, about $150,000 there, so that gives you your $637,000 shortfall. And we have a slight shortfall in interest income. On expenses, the Country Club of Woodbridge, expenses are, I've anticipated at a little over $1 million, 1.07 million. So that's $1,073,000. That's a surplus of $375,000. There's a number of items that go into that number. The first is expenses under the Billy Casper golf contract of $835,000. So if you compare the $835,000 in expenses with the $659,000 in revenues on the prior page, that's a shortfall for the first 6 months was about 170, I think it was. So that's part of it. There's also a 6-month contribution for the half of the first of the new contract, which would be essentially the January through June for $95,000. In addition to that, the town is now responsible for the clubhouse. And in the clubhouse expenses is just the expenditures that are necessary to keep the clubhouse running. It's got nothing to do with the pool. It's just heat, not air conditioning, heat, security, electricity.
Insurance?
No, that would be, it's in our general insurance account. Those are the three major ones. There's some alarms, stuff like that. So that's totals $40,000, most of which is heating oil and electricity. And there's, finally, we have a deficit in our country club fund of $101,000. And we were keeping that as a deficit in our fund because, as you all know, we are in litigation for $150,000 from a prior operator. At this point, I wanted to recommend that we in fact transfer that into the general fund and eliminate that deficit. It's been on the books for several years. I do get asked that question when we have presentations. What's your plan for that? I explain the litigation, but we haven't had much, the progress that I had hoped in that. So I thought at this point, because we have that available appropriation, that maybe it makes some sense.
Sure.
I don't know if you felt.
Nowhere near settling with him. He's just about
Yeah, I don't think he's,
out of business.
yeah,
right?
he's in trouble.
He's in
Yeah.
financial trouble.
If we get anything from him, I think it'll be a home run, grand slam.
At this
actually.
point, right, you would then just,
Yeah, I would do
You
that.
can put it back in the general.
Yeah,
fund.
yeah, the
That's
money,
what
right,
it
if we
is.
collect, we'll put it back, so yeah, I mean.
it
to
just
get
eliminates that
Yeah, it's a
deficit.
question that's,
Right, right.
it's there, so
That's
why
fine.
not?
You need a motion for that? Or you just
Yeah, I think a motion would be good for that because that would make it, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want,
Yeah.
we have not given up on the
Oh,
case.
of course not. No,
And
no, no.
we're still pursuing it through council actively, but I support Tony's
Yeah,
recommendation.
just
It's been a long
reflecting it
time.
differently on the-
Right,
That's all.
exactly.
That's all it
That's
does.
all it
is.
That's all it is. Yep.
That's fine.
You wanna make the motion, Andy?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that I recommend we transfer the deficit of the country club fund of 101,595 to the general fund.
Second?
Any further comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Done.
Thank you.
Is this little black cloud going to move away?
We're getting there.
So that's right. That's another step in the right direction. Waste management, a surplus there of about $25,000, and finally, employee benefits has a surplus of about $65,000, mainly in healthcare. I did want to discuss public works, and it's been some significant.
Why? What's going on?
Since-
Why is Public Works having a problem?
actually, I did this report, which was
45 degrees today.
the beginning of end of January. Unbelievable the amount of activity we've had in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Surprising, right?
Seriously?
It's February.
I didn't
you know?
notice.
That's
And,
what we have to expect now.
Last time we had this February,
Yeah.
their FEMA regulations are such that if it happens within a certain period of time, we were able to get 75% of it back. This time, however, they're spread out,
Yeah.
so there's no FEMA funds available. So at the present time, our overtime budget is over by $36,000.
Mhm.
And our supply, the two areas it hits mainly, or there's three actually. Overtime, supplies, we've had to use a lot of salt this year. And we had, it's funny, because have you heard about the salt on TV?
No.
You're hearing about the
Yes.
salt issues, yeah.
Shortage.
So
You can't even buy it in the Home Depot for your house. There's no salt.
we had enough for like one
Did you get
more
it?
storm, and the state was really rallying.
Early
And we just got
The
200
barge
tons.
came into New Haven with
Yeah.
umpteen tons of it. On
Yeah,
it.
we just got, was it yesterday, the day before, we got 200 tons delivered.
Because
So-
we're on a state contract, so were we one of the towns? that-
We're not on state contract because we were
Oh,
able to get a better price
okay.
off the state contract. But still, the state was helping out all the towns to
Okay.
make sure they got our deliveries. So we're okay there. But we're probably maybe over in supplies, maybe around 50,000. So we're looking at, I'm not sure how much the rest of the year will bring in terms of overtime, but we could be looking at, $75,000 to $100,000.
And what about repairs?
Repairs,
Let me take a beat.
there's a transfer tonight.
Yeah.
There's been a couple more that have come since we did this transfer, so there may be a little more there, but not much. The budget for the department has a line that we use for road repairs. To contrast it to road paving, road repairs would be crack sealing, potholes, that sort of thing, which we could put off until next year. So that's got about $25,000 in it. The rest we would have to use contingency. I could also look at some capital projects that we have that we can close or we can put off. and I'll report at the next meeting.
Okay,
Okay?
all right.
The goal is obviously not to have to use fund balance.
Hopefully, we'll have it,
And hopefully we don't have any more
we'll start getting,
problems.
we're already talking about more storms. This is one of those winters.
Right? Okay.
Okay. Any questions for Tony? Woodbridge Board of
One
Ed?
question, is my
Go ahead.
mailbox included in that?
They got you? They
I
got you?
believe it is. Actually.
We'll let Sandy talk about the Amity, the Beecher financial report. Okay. Country Club of Woodbridge financials,
Yep, so that's the
FYI.
one we were just discussing
Okay,
with the deficit.
all right. Governor's proposed midterm budget impact on Woodbridge.
So the governor's impact budget impact on Woodbridge is negligible from their budget last year to their budget this year. Meaning that the amounts are pretty similar. The plus is that last year we didn't budget for the extra $120,000 in town road aid. So our budget will be a good sign. It'll be an extra $120,000.
Oh, good.
At this point, there's been no indication that there's gonna be any cuts, or I'm not sure what'll happen to his budget once it goes through the process, but I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
Okay. And item E, reminder that on Tuesday, a week from this coming Tuesday, we're going to meet and go over the budget. When are you guys meeting, Board of Selectmen?
Tuesday,
You're
the
meeting, okay.
25th.
So Tuesday, the Board of Selectmen, I'm sure Tony and Ellen and whoever have got the budget ready to be presented to the Board of Selectmen. They will produce a Board of Selectmen's budget, which we will get, and then we'll see what we want to do as far as accepting or adding or subtracting from the Board of Selectmen's budget. And that'll be Tuesday, March 4th at 6, okay? And Karen has given you a little food thing here, if you want to get a sandwich or something, so give it to her tonight. Okay? Next, funding requests. We have several. Okay, number 131412 is a line item transfer within the police department to cover the cost of uniforms, including new recruits. And I will move acceptance of line item transfer 131412 for $5,000.
Second.
Discussion, or do you want to add anything, Tony?
No, just that they've had a number of new recruits, and so that's a major part of it.
Any questions or comments for Tony?
Wasn't part of it that they get their annual $1,000?
Yeah, they get a stipend out of that.
Stipend out of that? Is
Correct.
that- And this covers that?
Well, covers, the account where this is paid for covers that, and covers, when you have a new recruit and you have to outfit the new recruit.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next is, this is a request for funding from our contingency fund 1314-13. And the annual insurance premium came in higher than budgeted by $5,400. So I will move acceptance for request for funding 1314-13 in the amount of $5,400.
Second it.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next is another request for funding, 1314-14 in the amount of $4,000 for additional hours for an IT consultant. And I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1314-14 in the amount of $4,000.
Second.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I
on that,
could,
Tony?
sure. We had a number of projects this year that took some more hours than we'd anticipated that included, we upgraded a lot of our software, our Windows and our Office suite, and we had some virus issues that we had to address, and we've also done some improved communication remotely to your data, so like you can get your information remotely, which helps out a lot.
Yep.
So those are some of the projects that we had that we thought we had enough funded, but they went over budget on us.
Any other questions? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Another request for funding for 2,200, and it's number 1314-15. It's the information systems for the replacement of a failed uninterrupted power supply for our servers, and I'll move acceptance of request for funding 1314-15 in the amount of 2,200.
Second.
Tony, just
So,
want to,
sure, it's basically a battery that we plug our servers into, so it covers the gap between when the power goes out and the generator kicks in, so servers don't crash.
okay.
And it died on us. We do have one in the budget for next year, because we're gonna replace one next year and one the year after. But
Okay. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Another line item transfer within the Public Works Department, line item transfer 1314-16 in the amount of 20,000, and it's going from road maintenance to equipment parts. And it's a transfer to offset current deficits in the parts line items. And there's a memo here which basically outlines this. Obviously, with all this snow and all this work, trucks do break down, and it's been a tough winter. So I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1314-16
Second.
in the amount of 20,000. Second, any discussion? All those in favor? All right. I think the Public Works is doing a great job keeping us clear. I should sign this, huh?
Compared to New Haven, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like you know when you cross the border.
Exactly.
And finally, we have a line item transfer 1314-17 within the Police Department, and we're transferring it from vehicle parts to repair and maintenance vehicles. Seems like same thing, so.
similar type.
Yeah, it's to cover the cost of police vehicle repairs. I'll move acceptance of line item transfer 1314-17 in the amount of $2,000.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye? Okay. Done. And with that, with all these that we've just approved, we have about 101,000, we have exactly 101,271 left in contingency of 200. So obviously, based on what Tony just told us, we're going to be using some of that for,
Correct, yeah.
if it keeps snowing. Okay. Alrighty, next is approval of minutes. And the first set of minutes we have is the regular Board of Finance monthly meeting held on January 16th. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of the Board of Finance monthly meeting of January 16th, 2014 as presented.
Second.
Any corrections, adjustments, suggestions?
I have a suggestion.
Sure.
Update Tony's title. This is his
Okay.
old title, but now that he's the administrative officer, we need to change it in various places.
Okay. So he's Director of Administration, Finance, and Administrator, what is this, what is his
No.
title?
Tony, what is your title?
What would you
Administrative,
like it to be?
How about
Administrative Officer and
Finance
Finance Director.
Director?
Administrative Officer.
Administrative Officer and Finance Director.
Yeah.
Because administrative officer is a position required by our charter.
Okay.
It's a very
That's-
important position
That's
for our
the
town.
reason for that, right?
Yeah.
Sounds
But
good.
it would remain this way, this was his title at that time.
I believe we changed it before that
Oh, okay.
officially. Because it was upon the resignation of Joe Hellauer,
Oh, okay.
which I think was effective on the 15th.
15th, you're right.
So it actually, that
That
was
is
the
correct.
first time.
It should have.
Yes.
Okay. Any other suggestions or corrections? No? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Okay. Next is the special joint meeting when we authorized the bonding for the successful referendum for the Board of Education. And I will move acceptance of the minutes of the joint special meeting, the bonding of Beecher Road School on January 16th as presented.
Second.
Are there any corrections? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Okay, thank you. First Selectmen's report.
Yes, I have just a few things. We've already mentioned Public Works and the really fine job they've been doing, working very, very long hours. There have been a couple of downed mailboxes. I did hear about that, but I did want to say that overall,
Walpole.
we have received compliments about our road clearing, and I think that's very rare, and the Public Works Department really deserves credit for that. People have brought them coffee and donuts. I've had calls complimenting the work, so it's a real credit to the department. I wanted to mention that. I'm sure you all know that on February 11th, the Beecher Road School building renovation project was passed. It's the first time, I believe, as far as I've been told, that a referendum passed by 2/3 the first time. So, and it was a 3-to-1 vote in favor of that. The building committee, which Andy was part of, did a tremendous job really honing in on what was necessary, getting the numbers down as well as they could. Tony's been doing a terrific job working on it, and there'll be next steps very soon in having that project go forward. And lastly, I wanted to mention that following up on our 2 community conversations on the Country Club of Woodbridge, there was an informational forum last night. The consultants presented their recommendations, and members of the public made their comments. I think what was most striking was the range of comments. There were people who thought we should have unlimited development, people who thought we should have no development, people who thought finances were primarily the top issue to look at, people who thought looking at finances was really not important, just keep the open space. There were people who thought we were moving too quickly and people who thought we were moving too slowly. So it was quite a range of views, and I think what it points to is that the Board of Selectmen is going to have to work very hard to really take leadership on this and come up with a good proposal and an RFP that best reflects a combination of the concerns of the town. And I have said at every opportunity, for me personally, the most important thing is that we have a fiscally responsible plan, and that will be the guiding principle going forward. So, it's the highlights.
Just if I could comment, just one thing which I thought was rather confusing, where there are still people out there who think that the Woodbridge Village project down in the Bradley Road area is viable, is going to happen, and we don't need this. We don't need to talk about any further development. Clearly, there was a meeting maybe last year when the developer met with the plan TPZ and pretty much said it's not happening. And in fact, there was a lot of negative comments about Toll Brothers last night. But in fact, the gentleman or the people who own that property brought Toll Brothers in to make a presentation on how to develop that property, which Town Planning and Zoning found to be way too massive. But they said that's the only way they could make money. So there seems to be a lot of confusion about that project, and that there's no reason. It's a fine project. It's not going to happen. Tony, you've never had any reason to budget for building permit fees or been told. And I think if you talk to Terry Gilbertson, he'll tell you the same thing, or else he'd have numbers in his budget. So it's not going to happen. They've actively tried to sell the property, I understand it, but they take a bath on it. So it pretty much sits idle. And for people to use that as and to brutalize Toll Brothers when, in fact, the people who own the property were willing to hand it off to Toll Brothers to develop it. So there were some interesting comments, too, about conflict of interest with Malone and McBroom because they handle Toll Brothers. As the gentleman said, we do projects for a lot of people, but you get a lot of people down in those meetings, and it could turn into a free-for-all. Although it was much better having it there, because I remember when we had the last time, it was right here, and it was nasty to say the least. And
I think the other thing that we have to take into consideration is that we don't own that land.
no,
And we can't determine what's going to happen with it. The proposals have to come forward and they go on their own. We have control over this, and that's the issue. And it's part of the solution to the country club staying part of the town.
well, I'm sure there'll be more. Ellen made her points very well, and the Board of Selectmen, I'm sure, are going to decide whatever they decide is going to be in the best interest of the town. And And if it doesn't happen, I mean, we just continue on with this. I don't know. I mean, there's some people who think that we should just forget about it and let it become a cornfield and let it grow and just forget it. Just pay the debt off and we have a passive open space down there. But boy, that would be a short-sighted way of doing it, because once you let that property go and the golf course overgrows, it's lost. It's lost. And I don't think we should be going there just yet. So it was quite a meeting, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come. Okay, thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
Liaison reports. Well, I was on for the first time in a long time. I was unable to attend the Amity meeting because they changed it. The meeting was scheduled for the 10th. At this time of the year, I can't rearrange my schedule. For some reason, they canceled on the 10th. They moved it to the 11th, so I wasn't able to make it. And the only thing I do know that they're talking about, and I mentioned it in the investment committee meeting, their health insurance. They have a self-insured health insurance plan, and it's the experience and the claims have been astronomical. So they feel they don't have enough money in there. So there's discussion, I believe, to move the OPEB money that they had budgeted, about 400 and some odd thousand, into that and not fund OPEB this year, because the claims have been, I guess, extremely high. And as of March 1st, the new superintendent takes over, and that's pretty much it. I've got the next meeting scheduled. If they move it, I'm in trouble. So I'll keep you posted. Mike?
Fire Commission meeting was scheduled for February 10th as well. Ours has been moved to February 24th, to Monday, so there's no report.
And the Human Services, this may surprise you, was canceled due to the weather. But and EMS is meeting this week, so.
Okay.
You know.
This is going well.
Same.
Same? I know Sandy's got a report.
My meetings were.
You're telling me.
Education.
Okay. The Library Commission met on Monday, February 10th, and we got an update on the Library Trust, and I think those issues have finally been resolved.
Oh, good.
Which is good. People were happy with that. So there is access to the funds, and there's a regular cycle now for being able to access that money. There have been some delivery issues with what's called the C-Car service, where we request other items from other libraries, and those getting delivered to us. There are quite a few libraries who have also had problems. And Todd is really making a big stink about this, because he feels it's really not fair to the patrons at all, and he really wants them to investigate other options in terms of who provides this service, in terms of the delivery and the pickup. So he's hoping to take care of that. And they are planning a customer appreciation week for patrons of the library, where they will relieve the fines in return for just returning the material. And they're going to have goodies and a raffle, and they're really trying to get people to participate in that. The other item to share is that they want to develop some type of a library logo. And because they really want to develop their website and the material that they send out, and they want some physical identification. So they were thinking of holding a contest. There was some discussion about, maybe that's not the best way to go. There wasn't a final decision about it. If you approach someone who does that for their profession, the issue is that what if they design something for free and you don't like it? What do you do? But I think it's important that the town really understand that this is what they would like to do. I don't know if there's some interest on the town's part in having a logo and then making something that could be modified for the different commissions, whether it's the Rec Commission, the Library Commission, that could be used to customize that symbol, for each of the different entities. So that's something that you may want to think about. Okay, the Woodbridge Board of Education Finance Committee met on that same evening. And there is an anticipated surplus of about $140,000 now. So that has almost doubled since the last time. And there were some decisions made about wintergreen tuition, We have not really participated in that program, and we decided to basically relieve ourselves of those spaces. So that represents a savings. There is the salary of the teacher that left. There is a reduction in the special ed tuition. Again, we never know what's going to happen in the next, 4 or 5 months, but for right now, that's a contribution to the bottom line. And Dr. Stella and Al are going to prepare a list of potential reductions to the fiscal year 15 budget based on that amount of money. So it will be purchasing things, but things that would have come from the fiscal year 15 budget to reduce that number. Scott Bassett came to discuss the audit. They often request to have their own review, and he did a very nice job again of explaining to them how the Board of Ed is folded into the town's audit process, and gave his assessment that the information's very complete, it's accurate. They didn't have to do any journal entries, which they have to do for other clients, which means that all of the finances are being handled appropriately. There was discussion about reviewing internal controls, and Scott said they do that, but they don't actually render an official opinion. And if they found something, they would be required to report it, but they don't have an opinion if do not find any issues. He talked about the fact that we have very good policies related to segregation of duties, the cafeteria, the student activities funds, and I think everybody was, very happy in terms of how that came out. And that was it.
Before we leave, having had time to reflect on our budget season, I think it's apparent that, without naming names, we have a terrific group of people who are employed by the town. And we have terrific boards, too, who come to represent the positions, and there rarely is a harsh word spoken, which is a tribute, because, some of these town meetings, when they have budget presentation, they can get heated at best, but I think our boards and commissions present responsible budgets. They do it in a respective manner. I think the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance are respective to their needs. And I just think the process this year was excellent, and it's a tribute, again, to our boards and to the many people from the boards and commissions and employees who work on these. So I think we have a pretty special town in that regard. So
Absolutely.
I just wanted to say that. And with that, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. We'll see you on March 4th.